Hey, I'll just another quick editor's note. No editing this week either. This podcast is going out super late, so enjoy an unedited show. Welcome to an episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts and one of your commissioners. My name is Frankie, and sitting across the from me is Cam. Cam, how are you doing on this lovely Saturday evening?
Well, I just watched a thrilling Madden game between yourself and JP. JP fought hard but wasn't able to pull it out. Maybe a bit too many deep bombs, Hail Marys to Travis Kelce that ended up getting picked every single time. But, it was still a good time to watch, and everyone should join the Madden League. Cough, cough, Jake Logan and Greg.
Absolutely. Tom Brady in that game, JP just played. The gradual decline is real. I'm just gonna say that. All right. Well,
Hey, that man
thank you all
just
for
got
joining us.
divorced. Have some sympathy. God.
I have no sympathy for that man. um, Thank you all for joining us for an episode. I've been guessed already by now. It's not going to be a whole lot of editing with this episode. It's out super late again this week. I was on vacation for an entire week, which was awesome, but it also makes podcasting a little bit hard to coordinate. But in light of that, we're just going to record this. We're going to one take Jake it, and we're just gonna rock and roll. So of course we'll mention a few things from last week. Well, that's pretty old news now at this point. We're almost a week later. Waivers. We got blockbuster trades we want to get into, and then the week matchups, of course, for this week. Look forward to week 8, right smack dab in the middle of the fantasy season. How does that sound to you, Cam?
That sounds fantastic.
Alrighty. If you can't tell the sarcasm in his voice, it's there because Cam and I we matched up last week in the Commissioner Bowl. I ended up coming out victorious, as we were mentioning before the podcast. I was very lucky that Amon-Ra St. Brown left his game early. Otherwise, it could have been a little bit closer for sure. You know, some good performances from our players, some little bit underperformances, kind of mixed mash here and there. Our quarterbacks were pretty underwhelming, all things considered. We got the good plays on either side, especially our defenses were really, really strong last week. So yeah, I mean, pretty decent performances from both of us. A little bit of an underperformance, more on Cam's side, but again, he had that injury. So, do you have any other thoughts on your game, Cam, or do you just want to keep moving on?
Uh, my one other thing is, like you mentioned, the Amon-Ra thing. Second time this season that one of my starters went down the first possession their team had the ball. No big
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what if we had a rule change where if your player goes down in the first quarter, you can sub in someone else whose game is either also in the first quarter or hasn't played yet. But that also requires a lot of logistic work and people actually paying attention. So I feel like it wouldn't really help most people. So I don't know if we need to do it, but it's just my tilt response.
Yeah, that'd be pretty hard because, like, if I'm at work and I'm not watching my first quarter games, and I miss the first quarter, then I just miss that as opposed to somebody who isn't working on Sunday. It seems not
Exactly.
quite
Yeah.
fair.
So I'm not
Yeah.
actually serious. It's just, my coping. Because, if I was able to sub in DJ Moore, I would have won. No big deal.
Yeah. Justin, if you're listening to this, I know you're probably not, but get to the MATLAB programming code where you can just kind of run that program and have it do it for us automatically instead. Thank you in advance. Well, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Dylan Mikkonen, who is now on a crazy hot streak. He scored 144 points last week off the back of some really great performances from George Kittle, who's really come out in the last 2 weeks. Travis Etienne, who now is even going to fully take over that backfield, which is pretty wild news. Aaron Jones caught a couple of touchdowns there, a lot of touchdowns in Dylan's favor. And the yardage, of course, was there for Tyler Boyd as well. But we've been noticing with Dylan these last few weeks, I feel like the touchdowns, are really in his favor overall. But he does have, of course, some regular performance. If you heard that noise, by the way, that was Envy and I's new bunny. His name is Everything Bagel. If you hear any background, oh, her name. I'm so sorry.
Do you just
Her name
assume
is Everything
your
Bagel.
rabbit's gender?
I
Uh,
did. That was unfortunate of me. I'm thinking about NFL players, and then there's Everything Bagel. Anyways, if there's any background noise, you're welcome for that. But Jones is getting some touchdown luck, but it also is a good amount of yardage there as well. His team is definitely shaping up a lot better than it has been. And with Debo out this week, Ayuk will be a good start for next week, and so things are really looking up on Dylan's side. And I gotta say, I'm not here for it.
yeah, dude, he's quickly closing in on being the 11th lowest scorer of the season rather than 12th. So congratulations, dude.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the only stat that actually does matter is wins, as it turns out, and Dylan's kind of right about that, unfortunately. As much as I hate saying that Dylan's right.
Oh,
Another
so being
underperformance.
under 500, that's what matters.
Yeah, yeah. Well, have you seen his division? Rotleck is terrible. I'm sorry, Envy. But
What?
Rotleck is terrible. Like overall, like their scoring is like they're all bottom half of the league. I'm fairly confident.
Not
Maybe
Greg.
not
Definitely
Greg.
not Greg.
Besides for Greg. Besides not for Greg. You're right. But Greg's been on a huge downswing recently. Um, and him and Dylan's now tied for the lead in his division at 3-4. Like he's still behind in points for by like 180 points or whatever. But like okay, as it turns out, those points early in the season actually don't matter. It's about what you do every week. So I mean, compared to like SNS and then alphas, it's like that division is so wide open. It's slightly infuriating to not be a part of that division. um, but all right, big performances from Devin. Probably good win. Lassie once again gets super duper duper lucky with a win, scoring only 86 points. I think Cam, we need to we might need to kick Justin out of the league. Is that fair to say at this point?
Uh, Definitely not. Justin is the heart and soul of this league. Um, you know, he did start two people that didn't plan their games. Unfortunate to see. But in his defense, everyone on his bench was on bye, so he would have had to drop people. And if he just wants to tank a week just to survive his roster, I get it, I guess.
But
Was he
how are you
actually
not?
consciously doing that? Probably not.
Yeah, but like it's hypothetically saying he was like, oh, for okay, got it. Goff had a bad game. Okay, that's fine. But like, I get maybe you don't want to drop anyone, but like, too bad, bro. You've won one game so far. Like, get to it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't you don't have 5 wins. You can't afford to tank a week. Like, whatever. Any other takeaways from last week, or should we just go ahead and move on?
Let's move on. Get
Let's
out of
move
that
on.
league.
So the waiver wire was pretty exciting this week. Gus Edwards going to Jake for 36, beating out you at 27 and Lassie at 23. That hurts, I guess. Jake needs it because he needs any kind of running back up at this point with Brees Hall out for the rest of the season, unfortunately. But yeah, we got up Ed Cam. How's that feel?
Well, Gus Edwards proceeded to hurt himself on Thursday, so forget it. It
Yeah,
happens.
that's unfortunate.
Would he have hurt
And
himself if he
then
wasn't on Jake Logan's team, though? Probably not.
that's also a good point. And then just about nothing else really went on with the waivers. I don't think everything else was pretty non-competitive bids wise. So, anyways, in transaction news, we had another huge trade this week. I traded away Christian McCaffrey and received Debo Samuel and Jalen Waddle from Jake, which got some pretty interesting reactions from the league chat. Cam, yours was my favorite by far, I must say. Jake Pease was a close second. But yeah, what was your immediate reaction to seeing that?
Um, Jake tilts like a Michael Jackson convention, dude.
That's a good point. I mean, like he claimed that the first time he wanted me to trade him back because he was in a haze or something last
Mm-hmm.
time. And so my question is, what was he in this time? You know what I mean? Like I don't know
And
where the
post haze
excuses run
tilt.
out. Yeah, something like that. Um, so yeah, I've gotten quite a few assets out of Jake at this point. But Debo isn't even playing this week, as we're gonna see. So later on. So anyways, and then we had uh, Logan and Lassie with a head scratcher of a trade. Um, Logan receiving Paris Campbell and $20 of Fab, and he's sending Evan McPherson to Lassie. Yeah, all I'm gonna say is it's a bit of a head scratcher to me.
Um, is that where's Evan McPherson on the season? I can't click on my computer. I don't really care. Yeah, I think Lassie is just feeling left out and wants to have some memes.
Yeah, I mean he's the kicker 8, and the Bengals are definitely on the rise. But I mean I don't know. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't understand how they both got to that same value. It's very odd to me, but okay. And then yeah, nothing else waiver wise until then. So let's move on to week number 8. We had some scoring already go down. We'll start with your game, Cam, because that one had the most scoring so far. Um, the Bengals, the Buccaneers, other B team, had a decent enough showing. I guess I didn't watch the game, so it seemed decent enough showing against. Had a decent enough showing against the Ravens here. Um, with Tom Brady putting up a decent enough week, Lenny Fournette putting up a Lenny Fournette week, Mike Evans scoring a ton of points with no touchdowns, considering he had no touchdowns, I mean, giving him a nice 45 points bump for you there. And then for the rest of the team, he's starting Donta Foreman, which is probably actually going to be a really excellent start this week with the Chuba Hubbard injury. Deontay's a total gamble. Mixon should be good. And he's got the Eagles defense against a moribund Steelers offense. So pretty good stuff on Lassie's side all the way around. Cam, is Amon-Ra St. Brown going to play this week?
Yeah, dude. The reason he left last week was he got put in concussion protocol because of the new rule where if you have ataxia where you lose limb control. But then during the game, they were like, he doesn't have a concussion, but he's not allowed to come back in. So this whole week, he's been in concussion protocol, but doesn't have a concussion. And they were like, he's going to be clear for the game, but he's just got to be in concussion protocol. I don't really get how it works, but maybe his ankle will be better now that he didn't do that much this week.
Yeah, it'll be a nice week of rest for him.
Yeah.
You have 3 excellently talented running backs as your starting 3 here. Of course, JT's had a very disappointing season so far with some pretty, with a lot of underperformances in these games and also missing 2 weeks. But he's back. He's playing the Commanders. He's ready to take command.
With Sam Ehlinger, dude.
Yeah, that's
of Jonathan Taylor's season.
I mean, I don't know, man. You now have 2 running backs here with him and Saquon with 2 running quarterbacks. I mean, you don't necessarily think of Daniel Jones as, but Daniel Jones is a running quarterback in a lot of ways. And Sam Ehlinger scored something like 30 touchdowns in college through it with his feet. So we'll see. And then, of course, Dameon Pierce locked and loaded, really emerging as a talent. You finally got away from Kyle Pitts this week with Taysom Hill. Or did you play Taysom Hill last week?
This is week 3 in a row, dude.
Really? Okay, well, you're getting away from Pitts. He's still on your roster, though, which is, still there. Looks like you're sitting DJ Moore in favor of Kupp and Amon-Ra and even Gabe Davis. That's kind of an interesting start sit. Yeah, I mean, good stuff on both sides. I mean, these are 2 pretty high-powered teams. Lassie's just 1 game out from your record as well. Any other thoughts on your matchup?
No. Just please, team, do fine. Please.
Please, team, do fine.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have Devin versus JP. A battle of Devin, who is now the leader of the league with an insane 6-1 record, going against JP team, who's been fairly unlucky so far in terms of his points against. But he had a good start to his week with a Devin Duvernay touchdown, and I got those carry yards as well, which are really nice for him. He does have Daniel Jones, who I mentioned earlier. Pollard's going to be the starter this week, it looks like, which is going to be a really, really strong play, even though it's a good Chicago defense. It'll be a good play. Damian Harris is a bad play. Does he have any other running backs? Tyler Algier. Yeah, and then I guess if you put in DK, because you have Kelsey on by, that's tough. So yeah, we'll see about the DK injury. That's giving him a little bit of trouble this week, and then all the buys here for Kansas City and Los Angeles. So this is a week where JP really needs a win, and the buys are definitely not helping him out.
Oh, yeah.
Starting Amari Cooper, who's actually done pretty well this season, surprisingly, and Judy, who who knows what's going to go on with him with his new quarterback in tow as well.
It's gonna be Russell tomorrow, dude.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
He's back in the plane.
You're right. So that's probably a downgrade for GB then. So yeah, decent stuff from JP's side. Some really good starts with Tony Pollard potentially there, and a good start Devin Duvernay to help for sure. On the Devin side, I mean, he's got his usual suspects. Is Josh Jacobs. He's still starting Najee, which is unfortunate. He's got Melvin, which is a tough start, but not the worst thing ever. He's starting Tyquan Thornton in his flex over Dubs and Claypool. That's interesting decision. Wan'Dale Robinson, of course, with the big arrow up this week. And then Tyreek Hill's on pace for like 2,000 yards this season. So great stuff there. Really good stuff on Devin's side. I think I'm definitely liking Devin's side a little bit more here, but I mean, there's a chance that Tony Pollard just absolutely goes insane and becomes the de facto starter after this week.
I feel like Devin's side is a lot more reliant on a few people that have been going off, like Josh Jacobs and Tyreek Hill. I could see if they don't get 30-point weeks, and then Wan'Dale, Najee, Tyquan Thornton all just have kind of almost expected pedestrian weeks. JP's got a shot here.
It's a good point. Josh Jacobs is due for a lot of touchdown regression. He's scored 6 rushing touchdowns in his past 3 games, including 3 in the last one. So who knows? We'll see. Devin does have Goddard, though, who I would definitely count on to score against the Steelers. But all right. Good stuff there. Moving on, we have 2 teams that are searching to claw back in. Envy and Daniel have a better chance of that, of course, with their division, as we mentioned earlier. But Tyler's really trying to fight back this week. He has the James Robinson start in his new home in the Meadowlands. I was going to say Western New York, but that's definitely Buffalo, and New Jersey with the Jets. So it's interesting to see how that role is this week, especially because you already have Michael Carter there, who's of course already knows the offense. So it'll be tough to see. It's tough to predict what his usage will be. You have Aaron Rodgers on his side versus AJ Dillon on the MV Daniel side. So that's something to look out for. And then he did end up benching Kenyon Drake, who ended up scoring about 15 points. It would have been a good start for him. He probably just would have absolutely taken 15 points if he knew it instead of playing James Robinson. But, oh well, injuries happen. What can you do? Speaking of injuries, Jamar Chase, Chuba Hubbard, and then Keenan Allen on bye. So for a team that needs a win and needs a win now, it's tough when some of your heavy hitters are on that bench for you. On the McDaniel side, the running backs have been pretty suspect all year, and it's continuing to be that way. AJ Dillon, who has seen a very low snap percentage this year compared to previous years, and Nyheim Hines, who's in that same boat as well. So unfortunately there. Joe Burrow's been playing at an incredible level recently, so hope to keep that up. Pittman with the new quarterback. Lockett's come back from an injury. But they do get Justin Jefferson back this week, which will be great for them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't love a whole lot on either side. It's pretty telling that the teams are both projected for about 100 points. Yeah, I guess I'd probably like the MV Daniel side a little bit more, but I don't know. It's not great.
Yeah, dude, this is rough. I don't even know, because they both only have one good player, with Justin Jefferson on MB Daniel and Nick Chubb for Tyler.
Yeah.
And then Joe Burrow is definitely way better than Aaron Rodgers, I feel like, this week, playing against Buffalo. So I'm leaning MB Daniel.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, moving on. We have Jake versus Greg. Cam. Does Greg know he's not starting at quarterback right now? He's playing football this week. There's no shot, right?
Greg is currently blasted out of his mind at a rave. There's no way he knows what day it is, what year it is, what his name is.
And that is what yeah, and that's what's concerning me, because this is a week where Jake needs a win. Jake would really like to get a win as well to continue fighting into the alphas, and it could be a really good one for him. And I don't want him to get gifted a win. But I mean, we'll see. He also is currently starting Kavir Kadarius Toney,
And
who
he did say he's doing that in solidarity with Greg currently starting Mahomes.
oh, okay, I didn't see that. So
He said it in
okay, I
person.
mean,
Yeah.
okay, well, I mean, it's not really a one for one considering like you're talking about like 25 points, 25 points expected from Mahomes versus like I don't know, like over under like 7 for Kadarius
Mm-hmm.
Toney. But all right. Um, so basically, that. If Grayson not a quarterback, I mean, this is it's just over, right? I mean, Kyler Murray hasn't been like amazing, but he's still number 6 on the league and on the year so far. He's got C-Mac. He's got well, that's about it. Um, man, these rosters are just like not looking super high. I mean, Greg looks okay.
I wonder why Jake
It's
Logan's roster doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
I
I
wonder.
mean, Greg looked okay. If he's starting a quarterback this week, he gets his projection back up to about 100. Dave Montgomery, Derrick Henry, who, has a history of absolutely destroying Houston in spectacular fashion. Of course, the Rashad Bateman injury was unfortunate, but he still has A.J. Brown. I mean, Greg, you have like 5 days to pick up a quarterback. Why didn't you do something? I'm mad.
Yeah, dude. Like, I feel like if Greg, even without Patrick Mahomes, I think Greg has a shot here, just with Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, and AJ Brown.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It's
We
not a
will
good shot.
see. It's another non-starter matchup for me. Okay, we have some more firepower down below here because we do have Logan who's looking to reclaim his title of the lead of his division this week, or at least tie record-wise. Going against Justin, who we've mentioned previously, has only 1 win on the season, but he is starting a full roster this week, which is great. Starting on the Justin side, Josh Allen against a Green Bay defense, which has been all but impressive this season, should be good for him. Jamal Williams, he did have a pretty crucial fumble last week, so you want interesting to see how that affects his playing time this week. Miles Sanders should be locked and loaded versus Pittsburgh, although it is kind of, I mean, there's probably no legs to this whole Alvin Kamara trade rumor, right? But it makes me a
This
little
is
bit
the
nervous.
first I'm hearing of it.
Oh, I've seen on Twitter a few times that there's some talk between Howie and the Saints about trying to move Kamara and getting back their first round pick from Philadelphia. I've seen a few different people tweet it. I've not seen like a Schefter or a Rappaport tweet about it. So it's at this point it's just rumors. But it makes me a little nervous for my dynasty team. Anyways, speaking of the Eagles, he does have Devonta Smith, of course, playing this week. And then Nuke Hopkins as well, and CeeDee Lamb against Chicago. So actually some really good starts from the Justin side. Really the only one that's not great is the Williams one there. And I don't know if it's I think the rest of the roster is pretty solid, all things considered. On the Logan side, 22 points thereabout for Lamar. Good game. Nothing too special. Nothing bad either. Of course, the aforementioned Kamara, locked and loaded against Vegas. Mostert versus Detroit should be a pretty good game for Mostert. Sorry, Cam. And
that's what you think.
Michael. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah. And he does have Michael Carter, who I do expect to be the lead back this game. Well, interesting to see where those carries go. We'll have to see. He is still starting Garrett Wilson, which is highly unfortunate.
I think
Not that he has a ton of.
It might be better now that Elijah Moore is, being stinky.
Or maybe the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, who's to say? But yeah, he's currently starting
Corey
Dalton
Davis
Schultz.
Is out. That also helps.
Yeah, he's currently starting Dalton Schultz over Gesicki and Juwan Johnson. He claimed to be the tight end master or something this week, and yet he's only starting one tight end, which is highly suspect to me. I say if you want to actually want to be that one, you should prove it. But yeah, the Garrett Wilson start isn't amazing, and then Terry's been fine this season. Had a big boost last week with Heineke in tow, so I think he's a solid start as well. Finally, again, so I mean, good stuff on both sides. Interesting to see where those Michael Carter carries go and everything else I've mentioned so far. So, yeah, I don't know that I have a super strong favorite either way. I don't love. either Drake London or Garrett Wilson starts for Logan. So those can definitely go sideways as they have for the past like 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So I don't know. Maybe I might take Justin this week.
All right, I now really understand what Logan meant when he said he wanted to start 4 running backs because he's currently not starting DeAndre Swift. That's insane.
Yeah, that is crazy.
uh, yeah. My hot take here, let me know what you think, is Justin very much has a shot to make playoffs at 1-6 right now, given the strength of his roster.
So let's think about this. We have an extended season now with the 17 weeks. So that means, or 18 weeks technically, right? 17 games. So that means 17, 16, 15. So we play until week 14. So you can have a total of 14 wins. So we can, I think he can get to, you have to go on to get to 8-6 to even, or I mean, he's have to go on a hell of a run to do that. I can see him sneaking in at the 6th seed. Yeah, absolutely. He's got a good roster. They just need to start playing like it.
Dude, he's currently 2 games behind in his division.
Also true. Also good point. And he has Hopkins back now, which he's held on for a long time. So I like Justin Seam a good amount.
Yeah, and CeeDee Lamb with Dak coming back could be better.
Right.
Darren Waller hasn't been healthy. If Justin just like starts a normal roster, I think he's got a shot here.
I think so as well. Okay, I think we got to every game besides for mine versus Dylan. Okay, so we have some interesting things going on here. I aforementioned Travis Etienne, now the lead dog in Jacksonville. So that'll be the potential there. The ceiling is yet to be seen, but it's looking pretty good for him there. He does have Ayuk with a week where Debo is out, which is highly unfortunate for me. But yeah, we'll see about that. He also has Tyler Boyd. I have T. Higgins. So interesting to see where those targets go to, especially with Jamar out against the beatable Cleveland's defense. So a decent amount of variance going on there. Aaron Jones versus Buffalo. I imagine they'll probably be in a negative game script for most of the game. But he's a pass catching running back, at least to a small amount. So he's got that benefit from him there.
Wait, do you say Aaron Jones is a small amount of a pass catching running back?
Well, I just mean, he doesn't get. I mean, typically he doesn't get like a ton of targets. Although last week he absolutely
10
did.
targets last week. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, like 3 or 4. I mean, like I guess when I think of like passing quarterbacks, I generally think of ones that are like at least have like some design plays to him. It means pretty much just the dump off guy. But anyways, he's starting Thielen and Kittle as well, Devontae. So I mean, these are not bad starts. Besides for as much as we dogs Thielen aren't really season, he's done all right for himself so far. So yeah, I mean, decent enough stuff on the Dylan side. On my side, of course, I'm finally now consistently projecting over 130 points a game. It'd be nice if I'd actually hit that mark every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I get Diggs back this week, which will be great. I get to finally bench Everett, which also feels great. And I don't have Debo, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I now have Jalen Waddle, who's on track for like 1,600 yards or so far, or something like that this season. And I just hope that Dalvin Cook can stop being a bum ass enough to give me a decent enough game. I kind of went back and forth on who I wanted to start for my second and third running backs this week, but since Debo's out, I'm definitely going to start, of course, both of my Kenneth Walker and Ramondre. So, I mean, I like the stuff on my side quite a bit. Jalen Hurts versus Pittsburgh should be really good. So, I think this is going to be a pretty high-scoring matchup all the way around. Of course, I'm going to have myself in this one, but, I mean, I don't know. It feels bad to say, but I wouldn't be, like, totally shocked if Dylan won this one.
I just hope you both lose.
All right.
That's the extent of
Thanks
my
for the insight.
here. I don't like looking at these rosters.
Yeah. I like looking at mine just fine, actually, personally.
You mean yours and Jake Logan's? Okay, now I'm done.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? If the narrative is that I can only win championships when Justin, hands me players and Jake hands me players, at least I'm winning championships. You know what I mean? I'll take that. But we got to prove it here first. I need to prove it against Dylan, who, if he wins this game, is 1 game behind me after having a pretty terrible start to the season. So we have some teams on the rise cam, and I'm interested to see how things shake out this week. All right, anything else for week 8, or are we good to wrap up?
Let's get going, dude. We got games in, what, 8 hours? 6 a.m.? Yeah, 8
Oh, get
hours.
the
8 and a
London
half.
game. Yeah. Yeah, they're going to have the Broncos country is going to ride all the way to the Hottie Toddy. Okay, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Daniel Cam Fits Well podcast. I have been Frankie.
And Lassie, I love you, man, but you're going down because I'm Cam.
And we will catch you on the next one.